She said. You look sad. Mister. Want to meet my mommy? The millionaire CEO didn't expect what came next on New Year's Eve. Under the glowing holiday lights of Central Park. Amid the laughter and bustle of families welcoming the new year. A man sat alone on a bench near the frozen lake. His bespoke wool coat, which cost more than most people's rent, barely concealed the profound slump in his shoulders. His name was James Whitmore. A 38-year-old tech CEO with all the success the world admired and none of the joy that once mattered. The sparkle of distant fireworks reflected in his tired eyes but left no impression. He was alone by choice. Or so he thought. You look sad. Mister. Want to meet my mommy? The voice was small, sweet, and entirely unexpected. James looked down to see a little girl, no more than 3 years old, standing beside him. Her blonde hair peeked out from a worn knit cap, and she wore mismatched socks over bare feet. A crumpled piece of bread clutched in one hand. Despite it all, her eyes were full of an impossible light. You look really sad, she repeated, tilting her head. I thought maybe you want to meet my mommy. She always makes me smile when I'm sad. James blinked, caught somewhere between surprise and a flicker of amusement. Your mommy? Huh? She nodded eagerly, scattering a few crumbs. She's over there. The girl pointed toward the edge of the park. A woman was crouched near a trash bin, carefully sifting through discarded containers with a practiced, almost surgical care. Even at a distance, there was a quiet grace to her movements, measured and dignified. Her golden hair shimmered under the cold glow of a street lamp. She's really pretty, the little girl added as a matter of fact. But she gets tired. We're looking for food tonight. James's heart gave a quiet, painful lurch. What's your name? Lisa. Is your mommy okay with you talking to strangers? She says I shouldn't. But you looked like you needed a friend. I know that feeling. I don't have any friends either. James hesitated for a fraction of a second. Then, as if moved by an instinct long dormant, he rose when Lisa reached for his hand. Her small fingers were ice cold. I'm James, he said, his voice softer than he'd heard it in years. Nice to meet you, James. She led him through the park, past families taking selfies under glowing trees and children chasing sparklers. For the first time in months, James noticed how utterly removed he had always felt from these simple, happy moments. But this child, barefoot and smiling, had somehow bridged that gap with a single question. As they neared the woman, she looked up, her expression shifting instantly from tired concentration to alarm. She stood, dropping a container of pasta back into a bag, and rushed toward them. Lisa, she called, her voice tight with fear. What did I say about wandering? She stopped short when she saw James, tall and impeccably dressed, holding her daughter's hand. Her eyes narrowed with a fierce, protective instinct. I'm so sorry if she bothered you. She talks to people sometimes. I've told her not to. James raised his hands gently, a gesture of peace. No bother. Truly. She thought I looked lonely. She was right. The woman kept Lisa close, her gaze still wary but losing its hard edge. She has a big heart, she said, her voice softening. So I see, James replied, studying her. She looked younger up close. Perhaps 26. But life had worn grooves of exhaustion into her beautiful features. Despite her tiredness, there was something undeniably composed about her. A kind of quiet strength that felt unbreakable. I'm James, he said. She introduced me. But I'd like to know the name of the woman who raised such a brave little girl. A small, surprised pause. Anna, she said. Nice to meet you, Anna. He looked from Lisa back to her. Would you both let me buy you something warm to eat? There's a cafe just nearby. Anna's lips parted. Hesitant. That's not necessary. We're fine. I know, James said, his gaze open and honest. But maybe I'm not. She hesitated. Then gave a single, reluctant nod. Okay. Just something small. Lisa brightened instantly. Can I get hot chocolate? James smiled. A genuine smile that reached his eyes for the first time that night. Absolutely. As they walked toward the cafe, something stirred deep inside him. Nothing drastic. Just the faintest unraveling of a knot he hadn't known was cinched so tightly around his heart. It was only a beginning. But sometimes, a beginning was everything. He returned from the vendor's cart with 2 steaming paper cups and a small bag of pastries. Lisa took her hot chocolate eagerly, cupping it in both hands like a precious treasure. Her eyes lit up as she took a careful sip. Be careful. It's hot, Anna reminded her softly. Her love for the child a palpable presence in the cold air. James handed the second cup to Anna. She accepted it with a quiet nod. Her fingers red and raw from the cold. Though her nails were short and immaculately clean. She didn't sip it right away. Just held the cup, letting the warmth seep into her hands. Do you live nearby? James asked gently. Anna hesitated, her eyes flickering away for a moment. We move around. That sounds hard. It is, she admitted, her voice even. But it's our life. She stood just behind Lisa. A constant, silent shield. When Lisa spilled a few drops on her worn coat, Anna didn't even flinch. Just murmured. It's okay, sweetheart. We'll find a way to clean it. There was no self-pity in her. No bitterness. She had no reason to trust him. Yet she was here, thanking him for a cup of cocoa as if he had performed some profound act of kindness. May I ask? He began carefully. How long has it been like this? For you too? Anna looked down at Lisa, who was now humming quietly. 3 years. She said softly. Since Lisa was born. Things went wrong early on. I was in school. And she trailed off. It's a long story. I have time, James said, his voice an invitation. She gave him a small, tired smile. I'll tell you sometime. Maybe. They found a bench tucked beneath a tree wrapped in string lights. Lisa, sleepy but mesmerized, was curled up between them. You said you were in school, James prompted softly. Anna nodded. Nursing. I wanted to be a pediatric nurse. It made perfect sense. There was an innate, nurturing quality to her that even exhaustion couldn't dull. I was in my 3rd year. Top of my class. Then I found out I was pregnant. The father. Well, he left before I even started to show. She said it plainly, without an ounce of malice. My family wasn't really around. And school doesn't wait for life to get sorted out. Tuition, rent, medical bills. They just kept piling up. She looked at Lisa, her fingers gently brushing a strand of hair from her daughter's face. But I kept going. Because I had her. As they sat in the quiet, another figure approached, a man in worn layers, pushing a cart rattling with empty cans. He stopped a few feet away, his eyes fixed on the half-eaten pastry in Lisa's hand. Before James could even process the situation, Anna stood. She walked to her bag, pulled out a foil-wrapped sandwich he'd seen her tuck away earlier, and handed it to the man with a small, kind smile. "Happy New Year," she said gently. The man muttered a thank you and moved on. Anna returned to the bench as if nothing had happened. James stared at her, stunned. "That was your dinner?" She shrugged. A simple, unadorned gesture. He needed it more. We already had hot chocolate. It wasn't martyrdom. It was a simple truth. She treats the world with kindness. James thought. Even when it has never been kind to her. Later, as Lisa grew sleepier, Anna pulled a tattered children's book from her bag. The cover was faded, the spine held together with tape. She began to tell a story. Not the one on the page, but one she wove from the air. In a big, shiny city lived a little princess with no shoes, but the biggest heart. She began, her voice a soft melody. And one snowy night, she met a sad man with a frozen heart. So she gave him a smile, and he began to thaw. Little by little, James listened, his heart unusually full. He watched as Anna carefully combed through Lisa's curls with a small plastic comb. Its teeth chipped, its handle cracked. This small, sacred ritual of grooming was performed with the utmost love and care. She looked up, sensing his gaze. "I know what we look like," she said quietly. "But she doesn't feel poor. Not when we're together." James swallowed against the lump rising in his throat. It struck him how easy it would have been for Anna to become bitter and angry. Instead, she had chosen kindness. Over and over. People in his world donated checks for tax write-offs. Anna gave with her hands. With her warmth. With her last piece of food. She gave because she knew what it meant to need. In that moment, James realized he wasn't there to save her. She didn't need rescuing. She was someone who, with nothing, had already saved someone else. And now, without even trying, she was saving him. 2. The park grew quieter. Lisa had finally drifted into a deep sleep in her mother's lap. The silence between them was heavy with unspoken truths. "This used to be my favorite night of the year." James's voice emerged, low and hesitant. "Every December 31st, my wife and I would come to this park. We'd bring a blanket, a thermos of mulled wine, and just sit. Right here." He let out a breathless, broken laugh. Her name was Rachel. She had this wild laugh that made everyone turn their heads. We were married for 7 years before the diagnosis came. Ovarian cancer. Stage 3. Anna's hand stilled on Lisa's back. The first year was hopeful. James continued, his voice cracking. We fought. Doctors. Specialists. Clinical trials. I threw money at everything. Every possible treatment. I thought I could beat it. You know. That if I just tried hard enough. Paid enough. I could save her. But it came back stronger. She started to prepare for the end. She made me promise I'd keep living. And I said I would. But I didn't. He looked away. His jaw tight. I built a company. Made more money. Filled my days with meetings and numbers. But inside, I stopped living the moment she closed her eyes. She was only 36. The silence that followed was immense. James closed his eyes. And a single tear, hot and traitorous, slipped down his cheek. I'm sorry, he whispered. Ashamed. I don't usually. You couldn't save her, Anna said. Her voice the softest he had ever heard it. But she knew she was loved. That's everything. The word struck a place deep inside him he had buried under years of guilt. You think that's enough? He asked. His voice raw. Anna looked down at Lisa sleeping peacefully. Every night. I wonder if I'm doing enough for her. If this life is damaging her. But then she looks at me like I'm her whole world. She looked back at James. Her eyes clear and steady. And I realize that love is more than enough. It's the one thing that can't be taken away. The dam inside him broke. The tears he had suppressed since the funeral came freely. And he didn't try to stop them. Anna said nothing. She simply shifted closer. Careful not to wake Lisa. And let her shoulder rest lightly against his. No words. No pressure. Just presence. It was more comfort than he had felt in 2 years. And for the first time in what felt like a lifetime. James let himself feel everything, grief. Relief. And a tiny, fragile flicker of hope. Later that night, as they strolled down a nearly empty Fifth Avenue, Lisa stopped. Transfixed. In the window of a luxury children's boutique. A pink satin gown with puffed sleeves and tiny faux diamonds shimmered like a fairy tale. It's the most beautiful dress I've ever seen. She whispered. Come on. Sweetheart. Anna said gently. That's not for us. Sometimes. James said. Kneeling beside Lisa. It's not about need. It's about feeling special. Even for just one night. He then pointed to a simple, elegant cream-colored knit dress inside. And that one, he said softly to Anna. Looks like it's waiting for someone who's been brave for far too long. Torn between pride and a deep, unspoken yearning. Anna finally nodded. When she stepped out of the dressing room, James froze. The dress fit perfectly. Its understated elegance highlighting the grace she carried so naturally. Her golden hair framed her face. And for a moment, the weary woman from the park was gone. Replaced by the one who had always been underneath. Then Lisa emerged. Spinning in the pink gown. Her laughter echoing like tiny bells. At that exact moment, The first firework of the new year burst over Central Park. A bloom of gold and crimson lighting up the sky. More followed: blue, green, silver. Lisa gasped in delight. Anna looked up. Her face filled with wonder. But James kept his eyes on them. They weren't just seen, he thought. His heart full to bursting. They were finally visible. The night after New Year's, James checked Anna and Lisa into a modest extended stay hotel. "It's paid for a month," he said, placing the key card on the counter. "No strings. Just a place to rest." He didn't try to solve all her problems. He simply showed up. He helped her enroll in a part-time night program for nursing. She insisted on contributing. So he offered her a quiet cleaning job at one of his smaller offices, where she could bring Lisa. He would take Lisa to the park on weekends so Anna could study, reviewing flashcards with her over soup, making sock puppets to keep Lisa laughing. His sleek, empty apartment began to feel lived in as they started a tradition of cooking simple Thursday night dinners together. One evening, he arrived early and found the door ajar. Lisa was asleep on the couch, and Anna was at the table, highlighter in hand. So focused on her textbook she didn't even notice him. He watched her, and something profound shifted in his chest. She wasn't waiting to be saved. She was forging her own future, armed with fierce determination and an unbreakable spirit. It was not charity she had needed. It was just a little belief. It was not admiration he felt. It was love. Not for a damsel in distress, but for the quiet, unyielding warrior in front of him. 1 year later, the city was once again wrapped in winter's soft glow. It was New Year's Eve. But this time, for James, it felt like coming home. He stood in the doorway of his brownstone, a home he'd bought but never truly lived in until now. Anna stepped inside first, shaking snow from her coat, a soft flush on her cheeks. She wore a pale blue nurse's uniform, fresh from her first shift at the community hospital. The badge clipped to her chest read, Anna Collins, RN. 3 letters that represented 1,000 sleepless nights and a universe of courage. Lisa skipped in behind her, twirling in a new sparkly pink dress. She clutched a homemade card, holding it up proudly, in glittery letters and crayon swirls. It read, "Our first real New Year's together." James felt his throat tighten as he knelt to take it. "It's perfect," he said. "Just like you." The house was alive. The scent of garlic bread wafted from the kitchen, mingling with Lisa's giggles and Anna's soft humming. It was the sound of a family. As the final minutes of the year ticked down, James walked to where Anna was watching the snow fall. He took her hand, turning her to face him. "You didn't just save your daughter," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved me." Anna's eyes shimmered. She placed a hand on his chest, over his heart. "I think we saved each other." He leaned in and kissed her slowly, reverently. A kiss full of gratitude and promises. E.W. Kissing. Lisa squealed from the couch, before bursting into a fit of giggles. They all laughed together. A sound born not of perfection, but of peace and presence. The TV flickered with the final countdown. 10, 9, 8. James pulled Anna close, wrapping an arm around her. while Lisa clung to his other side. All three huddled beneath one blanket. 5-4. Outside. A firework exploded, painting the sky in brilliant silver. 3-2-1. Happy New Year! Lisa shouted, throwing confetti made from cut-up tissue paper into the air. Anna looked at James, her face radiant. Ready for a new beginning? He smiled, his heart whole for the first time in forever. I already got mine. In that warm living room, surrounded by quiet joy and unconditional love, they began their new year. Not as strangers or survivors, but as a family. Real, imperfect, and wonderfully complete. On a cold winter night that once symbolized endings, a new beginning had quietly bloomed, proving that the greatest miracles don't come in grand gestures. They come in cocoa-stained smiles, whispered bedtime stories, and the quiet courage of a heart that never stops believing in second chances. Thank you for watching this soul-stirring journey of love, resilience, and healing. If this story touched your heart, please show your support by giving it a like, sharing it with someone who might need it, and subscribing to Soul-Stirring Stories. We are dedicated to bringing you more heartfelt tales that inspire, uplift, and remind us all of the beautiful power of human connection. Until next time, stay kind and never stop believing in second chances.